with all the business conditions that have changed, supply chain, globalization, Rockwell has been there for decades, as you spoke about with reliability as being the constant. There's another dimension to change, which are the people that are using the technology. The new generation that's coming in to OT, they have a different skill set than the previous generation. Do you think Rockwell is well positioned for this new generation to sort of take over?
Yes, Rockwell's extremely well positioned to kind of help with this transition to the next generation of workers. And one of the reasons for that is their partnerships and their ecosystem. To give an example, obviously they work very closely with the company PTC. PTC, through their InnovationSuite, which is a joint collaboration between Rockwell Automation and PTC. But that brings also technologies like through PTC's Vuforia with augmented reality and virtual reality. And you bring in a worker, and the worker has great technical savvy, but doesn't really understand what's in the plant. Augmented reality acts as their guide. It's like having your own personal assistant as you're going through the plant to give them the extra information that's laid out on a template, to give them the instructions that they need as far as what they can do. And it guides them through. And with technology like virtual reality, think of it. Most of these workers are more familiar with Fortnite than they are with manufacturing. They're used to wearing, certainly headsets. They're used to wearables, and they're used to that. And think of it, one of the challenges you've had in manufacturing is how to take people who never thought of manufacturing as a career for them, would rather go into finance, for example. And they can say, you mean I can actually go and, as part of my job, leverage doing things like simulation for training or simulate any type of thing that could possibly happen in the plant. I can now do things like using digital twin technology to create all models of any of these assets and processes in software first and be able to model them before these models the processes are deployed. So now I get to use all this great technology. And even if I don't necessarily understand, if someone says to me, what's a cat cracker, they might think it's a pet rather than something in an oil refinery. So the idea is that this really helps them to kind of bridge that gap and have the tools that they enjoy working with and they're comfortable working with. But these are the tools that help them with their work processes. So it was critical for companies like Rockwell to have an ecosystem where they can bring along some of this technology, work with companies as they do with PTC through InnovationSuite and some of what that brings along to the table. And I think that's what really is very, very helpful to kind of bring that new workforce. And the idea is that really helps develop a sense of loyalty to this workforce because they may not have heard of a company like Rockwell Automation before. They certainly may be extremely familiar with, with Amazon and Microsoft and certainly, Apple. But at the same time, they're not going to be, when this now realizes that, boy, the companies that are in the manufacturing space actually do have some really cool technology. And it's something that I actually look forward to going to work and look forward to being able to deploy. And this will, then they begin to tell their friends, and then it begins to begins to get into certainly as part of their, education system. And then they begin to be able to apply that in the real world once they graduate college.